Muscle composition. Common in elite power athletes. Less than 2% Neanderthal DNA. I should be walking around with a wooden club bashing little rabbits to death.
Yeah, buddy. Lightweight, baby!
What's up, guys? I'm Josh and I Lift Things, and I'm here to talk about my 23andMe results. I gave the government my DNA. So if you guys know anything about me, it's that I am insanely paranoid about offering data up to just random fucking companies that do not know me. They sell it for profit, and I get to see none of the benefits. However, there was a very interesting story about a serial killer in, I believe, California, or maybe it was Texas, that ended up getting caught decades after all of their crimes because their cousin did a 23andMe. Having someone even close enough in your family that has submitted their DNA to be evaluated by a company such as 23andMe is enough to get you caught for murder decades after the fact. I've had multiple family members do 23andMe, meaning that I can't go commit, the murders that I want to. So I figured I may as well bite the bullet and get some interesting information regarding my health. Now, both of my dad's parents were adopted and my mother was adopted. So we don't have a really strong family lineage. We don't know anything about health outcomes or really anything like that. We know that we have some cancer risks, and we know that I have autoimmune disorders. I have asthma and Crohn's disease. With that being said, there's two options when you get 23andMe. You can get the health services or you can get the relative services. I decided to get both, as well as sign up for 23andMe Plus, which is a yearly subscription that basically whenever they get a new report in, they have a new gene variant that they can test something for, they will do that for you. And they also do some pharmacokinetic stuff, essentially meaning how your body reacts to certain types of medications. This can be very important to do if you want to be a supplement consumer. There are certain things such as the MTHFR gene, which can actually decide how well your body can methylate. And if you have impaired methylation, that means that you need to change your supplementing quite heavily in order to actually get all of the benefits. So let's jump right into it and do a quick overview of my results. So this is the main profile. As you can see here, these are the new 23andMe Plus reports for diverticulitis, glaucoma, and everything like that. So first off, I'm just going to click the Ancestry tab. Now, my mom growing up always said that we were Italian and Jewish. Now, one thing you have to know about my mother is that she's also a liar. So let's actually click in and see what we're dealing with. Now, as you can see here, I am 69%, nice, French and German, with supposedly most of it coming from Bavaria. It makes sense. I'm so full of cream. So, Bavarian cream adds up. But in reality, I am 99.2% Northwestern European. I'm a white mutt. What can I say? So British and Irish, 69%, nice. A little bit of Scandinavian, broadly Northwestern European, and then here 0.6% Eastern European, and then trace ancestry from the Peninsular Arab. So I am 0.2% Arabian. I guess. I don't know. That could be a lot of different countries, and also depending on your beliefs, which they're definitely my beliefs, we all started in Africa. So how far back does that test to? And, eventually we would be Arabian, like all of us pretty much. So that's very interesting. Not Jewish and not Italian, but something with Arab. 0.2%. So literally not, dick. I'm white. Now let's go to the cooler portion of everything, my health and traits. So of course they try to sell you some telehealth services. Fuck that, I'm alright. So they have tabs for your lifestyle, health, pharmacogenetics, carrier status, wellness, traits, health highlights. And then you can also input your blood work if you get blood work done regularly to see how you're battling some things, which is really, really cool. So age-related macular degeneration. This is basically your eyes getting worse. I have a slightly increased risk, and this is something very important to talk about. So when you sign up for 23andMe, you do these little surveys that basically say, hey, do you want some information? For instance, they do Alzheimer's research. If you don't want to know if you have the gene for increased likelihood of Alzheimer's, you can say, I don't want to know about it, and they will never tell you it. That's a really cool feature. Some people just don't want to know these things. I personally would always want to know everything, that way you can make plans or whatever else. It's also important to know, for instance, the cancers, they have this little diagram where they say, let's say 1 million genes associated with breast cancer. We test for 300 of them. Of the 300 that we test for, about one person gets cancer that has one of the 300. So it's still insanely low. This is not a diagnosis. This is not a prognosis. This is purely just saying statistically, some people with this gene have a higher likelihood of that happening. And who knows how well they test for confounders and say, try to argue out people's lifestyle factors or anything else. It's just something interesting to know and something interesting to look out for as far as these health predispositions go. So if you get one of these tests and you have a lot of bullshit, don't trip over it. But age-related macular degeneration, basically everyone in my family who's older has glasses. I got glasses a couple months ago. It's whatever. Atrial fibrillation, increased likelihood. This is basically short for AFib, which basically means an irregular heartbeat. I've never really had issues with this. When I really pound stimulants, I've noticed somewhat an irregular heartbeat, but that's it. Nothing too serious. Increased likelihood, which is higher than slightly increased risk, but whatever. Celiac disease, slightly increased risk. I have Crohn's disease, which I think autoimmune disorders kind of fuck up the chances for a lot of other autoimmune disorders, as you'll see in a little bit. I have been tested for celiac disease. I've had biopsies done, and I do not have it. Eczema, increased likelihood. Skin rashing, essentially. I have never had to deal with that. Gallstones, at least so far, I've never had to deal with that. Hashimoto's, which is essentially hypothyroidism, or at least a form of hypothyroidism, autoimmune disorder. I do not have that. Lupus, autoimmune disorder. Do not have that. Psoriasis, autoimmune disorder. Do not have that. Restless leg syndrome. I get this like a motherfucker. A lot of people seem to be able to treat this with magnesium intake before bed. That has not helped me. I still take magnesium, but that's besides the point. Yeah, I get restless leg syndrome pretty bad, pretty intermittently. I'll deal with it for a week, and then for 3 months I won't have it. But increased likelihood, that is accurate. Type 2 diabetes. No one in my family has diabetes. Also, none of us are overweight. So, alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. No idea what that is, but variant's not detected, so that's POG. Anxiety, typical likelihood. Asthma, typical likelihood. I do have asthma, whatever. ADHD, typical likelihood. So here we have BRCA1 and BRCA2, no idea, do not have it. Chronic kidney, do not have it. Coronary artery disease, typical. Depression, typical. Diverticulitis, typical. Hypercholesterolemia, variants not detected. That is awesome. That means that I probably do not have that high of a chance of just getting massively high cholesterol. Fibromyalgia, typical likelihood. G6PD, glaucoma, gout, HDL cholesterol, which was actually a little low at my last blood work, so I have to get that fixed. So as you can see, it just goes through basically everything. Irritable bowel syndrome, typical. Late onset Alzheimer's disease, variant not detected. That is very, very, very good. Migraine, I've never had a real migraine. People who actually suffer from, I've had bad headaches, those are not migraines. People with migraines will let you know when you try to steal valor from them. Obstructive sleep apnea, typical likelihood. Both my brother and my father have this. I had a sleep study done a couple months ago, and I at least currently do not. Parkinson's, variant not detected. That is great. Rosacea, typical likelihood. I do have rosacea. I think it's some autoimmune response from when I eat foods that don't agree with me or when I'm on certain medications. For instance, I used to go look at my old videos, super tomato face, but I was on Accutane. Accutane was giving me really bad rosacea. I don't know why. Severe acne, typical likelihood. I never had it during puberty or anything, but then after my long prednisone course from Crohn's disease, I did have severe acne. Skin cancer. My sister did have a non-cancerous tumor. That's about as far as I know there. Melanoma, skin cancer. Same thing, triglycerides, regular. So now we're moving on to the pharmacogenetics. My SLC01B1 drug transport, predicted decreased function. The fuck does that mean? The protein helps transport some medications from the blood into the liver where they are processed for removal for the body. Specific DNA variants can affect how well this transported protein works. Do not use this report to start, stop, or change any course of treatment. They have those disclaimers everywhere. They're like, bro, don't die and sue us. So I have a variant associated with altered function of the SLC01B1 transporter protein, which may reduce the transport of some medications into the liver for processing and removal from the body. However, since many factors impact how medications are processed, the variant detected may have no noticeable effects on how you process medications. So I have one copy of the C521T greater than C. That's not how it actually works, by the way. Decreased protein function. So it's not all the way to poor, but I am decreased. I may have a decreased response to simvastatin. Statins are essentially used to try to lower blood pressure. Thankfully, I have very low natural blood pressure. I sit about 100/80. That's not like clinically low, but it is on the low end of low. I have gotten very like woozy and dizzy before and almost fainted, especially during like really intense workouts. So that is a bit alarming sometimes, but for the most part, it's fine. But hopefully I will never put myself in a situation where I have to take a statin in the first place. Even at my biggest, I still had quite low blood pressure. Now my CYP2C19 drug metabolism, predicted normal metabolizer. This is a very good thing. If you've ever taken a medication and they said not to eat any grapefruit while on it, that is because grapefruit, or I believe it's naringin specifically in the grapefruit or other citrus fruits, can actually blunt the CYP enzyme from being a thing, which then means you could have an unhealthy and toxic buildup of that drug in your body. The CYP enzyme helps to break down certain classes of drugs, and if you have a reduced function in that enzyme, you could have a much more buildup of that drug in your body, which could then lead to things like overdoses. Like with Accutane specifically, it's a very, very big deal to not supplement any naringin or eat any high naringin containing foods. But I'm a predicted normal metabolizer, so that is great. DPYD drug metabolism, virtually the same thing, and I am considered good. Now, this is carrier status for certain genes related to certain types of different diseases, and I am a variant not detected for every single one of them, which is awesome. That's very, very good, especially if you're like one of those people that are super intense about like what person you want to have a child with. I think those people are fucking like weird and a little too eugenicist-y for me. But if you are that type of person, buy your partner, one of these and you can see, what the chances are. So now, wellness, alcohol flush reaction, unlikely to flush. Yeah, I've never really flushed before. Caffeine consumption, likely to consume more. I am a pretty high caffeine consumer. Cat allergy, increased likelihood. I have 2 cats. Fuck them. Deep sleep, less likely to be a deep sleeper. Yeah, my sleep study proved that. I have a sleep app where I try to track my sleep. I have a very rough time getting in pretty deep sleep, have my entire life. Thought I had insomnia during my adolescent years, but that's probably a combination of this lack of deep sleep as well as just poor sleep hygiene. To this day, I still probably get about 6 hours every single night. It's, what I do. There is a very interesting gene that Matthew Walker, one of the leading sleep scientists in the world, has talked about. He said if you have the world's population and you wanted to round to the nearest whole number of people that can perform just as well as 6 hours of sleep versus 8 hours of sleep, that number would be 0%. But there is a gene of people, specifically Northern Europeans, who seem to be able to get all the same benefits within 6 hours of sleep versus 8, but it's insanely, insanely rare. I wish that they were able to test for that. To my knowledge, they are not. I can do some more research and dive into that, but maybe I'm one of those people, or maybe I am sending myself to an early grave by not sleeping as much. Dog allergy, increased likelihood. I've had dogs my entire life and I've never noticed an issue. Genetic weight, predisposed to weigh about average. Now, some people are going to freak out about this and say like, oh, being fat's a choice and all that. There are very real genetic factors that could lead you to be a greater weight or a less weight for that matter. But I am predisposed to be about average, minus the fucking Crohn's disease. Lactose intolerant, likely tolerant. It's pretty well, understood at this point that a lot of older people, especially the way our current milk practices are right now, that older people end up developing some form of lactose intolerance, and the people who are most tolerant to it are like Northern Europeans. So I'm good there. Muscle composition, common in elite power athletes. Yeah, what's up? Fuck with me. Okay, yeah, this is silly. Let's click on this, see what it says. Sprinters and endurance athletes differ in the composition and capabilities of their muscles. These differences may be influenced by both training decisions and genetic factors. So studies have found that almost all elite power athletes, sprinters, throwers, and jumpers have a specific gene variant and a gene related to muscle composition. You have the same genetic variant as these elite athletes. What this means for you, lifestyle and training factors drive it, whatever. I have the CC variant, and it's common result for elite power athletes. So is CT, and TT is uncommon for elite power athletes. They then talk about slow twitch fibers versus fast twitch fibers, but it doesn't seem like they go that in depth with it. This report is based on a genetic marker in the actin-3 gene, ACTN3 gene. This marker controls whether muscle cells produce a protein called alpha-actinin 3 that's found in fast twitch muscle fibers. While some people don't produce this protein at all, almost all the elite power athletes who have been studied have a genetic variant that allows them to produce the protein. Studies in mice suggest that young mice who don't make any of this protein are able to run further without getting tired, but studies in humans have not consistently shown an endurance advantage for people who don't produce the alpha-actinin-3 protein. Differences in the genetic marker used in this report may only explain about 2 to 3% of the difference in muscle performance between different people. In elite athletes who work intensely to reach the upper limits of their potential, that 2 to 3% may mean the difference between qualifying for the Olympics and missing the cut. But for the rest of us, the choices we make, yeah, exactly. None of us are going to be so, elite that, that would even matter in the first place. But it is something cool. So, nearsightedness, typical likelihood. I have astigmatism. I don't have really near or farsightedness. I just have bad astigmatism. Saturated fat and weight, likely similar weight. Seasonal allergies, typical likelihood. I've never really had to deal with those. And then sleep movement, likely more than the average movement. Yeah, so I talk in my sleep, I roll a lot in my sleep, I will act out my dreams sometimes, and as a kid I sleepwalked I think 3 or 4 times. Nothing too crazy, nothing obviously that bad happened to me, but yeah, I got up and roamed around while sleeping. I haven't had that happen to me in years, but I also have sleep paralysis and a lot of other just weird sleep habits. It's kind of fucked. There was one time I had a dream that I was fighting Eminem, and then my girlfriend woke me up because I was punching in the air. I don't know why I was fighting Eminem, by the way. Shout out Marshall Mathers. And she woke me up, and I came really close to accidentally hitting her because I was still freaked out in the dream. So yeah, sleep movement likely more than average. Yeah, that's accurate. Now, ability to match musical pitch, less likely to be able to match musical pitch. Now, I was in band my entire life. I was a percussionist. I play guitar a little bit. I'm not great. I play bass a little bit more. I have messed around on a keyboard, and I'm able to decently pick out key and pitch and everything like that. I think that's more of a learned trait than an innate ability. So just once again, this stuff does not mean that it doesn't mean that I'm just musically dumb. You know what I mean? So don't take any of your results that seriously. Asparagus odor detection, likely can smell. I cannot smell anything. I have a terrible, terrible sense of smell. I don't know if it's a super bad deviated septum. I don't know if maybe it's constant allergies or what. My entire life, I've barely been able to smell anything. The asparagus odor detection, I don't know what that means. I think they're talking about when you pee and it smells bad, after you eat asparagus. I've never noticed that. Back hair, likely little upper back hair. I have 0 body hair. I did not get armpit hair till I was 16. I'm a grown-ass man and I can't grow facial hair. Shout out my minoxidil video. I do have a little bit of hair on my arms, but it's completely blonde. Yeah, no, I'm not a hairy guy whatsoever. Bald spot, likely no bald spot. I've had no issues with anything like that. My dad has a full head of hair. Again, we don't know my mom's side of the family at all, so whatever. Bitter taste, likely can't taste. Yeah, that's kind of true. I like dark chocolate. I like black coffee. Bunions, less likely than average to have a bunion. Yeah, I've never had anything like that. Cheek dimples, no cheek dimples. I think this is just a cheek fold, not a dimple. Cilantro taste aversion, slightly higher odds of disliking cilantro. I love cilantro. Cleft chin, likely no cleft chin. You tell me. Dandruff, more likely to get dandruff. People have this confusion. They think dandruff is the white flakes that come off your scalp. That's not true. Dandruff is a yellow waxy kind of thing. And as a kid, I never really had it that bad, and I don't have it at all today. What I do get is dry scalp. So I had to figure out a specific hair hygiene for me in order to not get it as much. Earlobe, likely detached earlobes. Am I leaking an ear right now? Yeah, it's hanging, I think. Early hair loss, likely no hair loss. Dope. Earwax type, likely wet earwax. Yep, that's true. Eye color, likely brown or hazel eyes. Yeah, they're a weird brown, blue, green. I think that's the definition of hazel. Fear of heights, less likely than average to be afraid of heights. So in my real life, I'm not afraid of heights whatsoever. But if I have a really bad dream, it'll be me falling to my death or something, which I guess anyone would find scary. But I really like watching videos of urban explorers. So people that climb skyscrapers on the outside of it. And I get really, really, really sweaty palms while watching it. So it does give me an adrenaline kick, but I don't have some innate fear of it. Fear of public speaking, less likely. Yeah, I've never had a problem with that. Finger length ratio, likely ring finger is longer than my index finger. And yeah, that is the case. Flat feet, less likely than average to have flat feet. Nope, I do not. Hair photo bleaching, more likely to experience hair photo bleaching. My hair is never bleached before. It's, dark brown, black hair. Hair texture, likely straight or wavy. It's curly as fuck. Hair thickness, less likely to have thick hair. It's thick as fuck. Ice cream flavor preference, about a 50-50 chance I'm preferring vanilla or chocolate ice cream. I like them both. I think like vanilla is probably my favorite. I don't know how that's a fucking gene, but lighter dark hair, dark, yep. Misophonia, less likely to hate chewing sounds. Yeah, I've never cared. Mosquito bite frequency, likely bitten as often as others. This is something very interesting I've noticed. When I am healthy, I get bit by mosquitoes. When I'm in a Crohn's flare-up, I get bit less by mosquitoes. I have no idea what that is. I think they can literally be like, yo, that's sick blood, so they don't want it. But that's just something I've noticed. Motion sickness, less likely, I've never had it. Newborn hair, likely little, yeah, probably. Photic sneeze, likely no, yep. Red hair, no red hair, yep. Skin pigmentation, likely a lighter skin. Yeah, naturally I have pretty like white light skin, but I do not burn much, and I do tan very easy. Stretch marks, about 50-50 chance of having stretch marks. No, not really. Sweet versus salty, likely prefer salty, true. Toe length ratio, likely big toe longer. For free? No, my second toe's longer. Pete my OnlyFans. Unibrow, likely at least a little unibrow. No, not really. I have like 1 or 2 hairs that grow randomly right there, like, and I shave it like once a month. Wake up time, likely to wake up around 8:51. I guess naturally, yeah, I'm probably like a 9 o'clock wake up person, but I just don't. I just wake up earlier. Widow's peak, likely no widow's peak. Nope. And that is all of the base health reports. Now, there is something really cool that you can do. You can come to here and you can browse your raw data. You can literally search by gene. You can search by like the chromosome and everything else. This is really, really, really cool. You can even download your raw data and then send it to other companies to have them analyze it if they do like more intense health reports or anything else. Now, what I am primarily interested in is the MTHFR gene. So this website here, which is Genetic Life Hack, seems to be pretty decent. And it tells you to check your raw data and how to do it for the C677T and the A1298C. So what you want to do is come in here, grab this copy, come over here, MTHFR, and then just search. And it tells us that it's placed on the first chromosome, and then it has everything here for all of its variants and then all of your results. So now you want to do Control F, paste that number. So for the RS1801133, we can see that this is for the MTHFR, or the motherfucker gene, for C677T. So GG is typical. I do not have GG. I have AG. So if we come back here, AG means I have 1 copy of the MTHFR C677T allele, meaning my enzyme function is decreased by about 40%. So to give you some more information here, the MTHFR gene is the methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. Remember it, methylene tetrahydrofolate. Now you've heard of folate before, correct? No? Vitamin B9. So the MTHFR gene provides instructions for making an enzyme called methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. This enzyme plays a role in processing amino acids, the building blocks of proteins. Methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase is important for a chemical reaction involving the vitamin folate, or vitamin B9. Specifically, this enzyme converts a form of folate called 5,10-methylene tetrahydrofolate to a different form of folate called 5-methyl-tetrahydrofolate. I don't know. This is the primary form of folate found in blood and is necessary for the multi-step process that converts the amino acid homocysteine to another amino acid, methionine. The body uses methionine or methionine to make proteins and other important compounds. So once again, methylation. I'll have an entire video on this up at some point, so don't worry about it. All this purely means is that I have a MTHFR polymorphism. That's all that means. And it means I probably have about a 40% decreased ability in order to actually convert some of the things that my body needs from what my body gets. There's other really interesting genes you could worry about too. So here, for instance, is the COMT enzyme, which can be slow or fast depending on your genetics. Some people with slow COMT enzyme function have negative reactions to certain supplements. Here it talks about the polymorphisms, the neurotransmitters, and the supplements. There's a lot of digging you could do here. Or again, you could download your raw data and then send it to another company, pay another fee, and then do all this. For those those wondering, the entire test for me, because I got like the Wellness Plus, I think was like $200. And I think you pay, I think it's like 50 or 100 a year to have the extra report sent to you when they get new information based on genes. Oh my God, I forgot the biggest part. Hey, Joshua, you have more Neanderthal DNA than 42% of other customers. I have about less than 2% Neanderthal DNA. I should be walking around with a wooden fucking club bashing little rabbits to death. So you inherited a small amount of DNA from your Neanderthal ancestors. Of the 7,462 variants we tested, we found 234 variants in my DNA that trace back to Neanderthals. How my Neanderthal DNA may influence me. I have one associated variant with having difficulty discarding rarely used possessions. That is facts. I'm not a hoarder or anything like that, but I do love collecting random bullshit. Like, I have fucking 25 retro consoles at my house right now. If you have more you want to sell me, hit me up. So guys, that is my information. I have the motherfucker polymorphism, 40% reduced something reductase. I have the muscle composition that's common in elite power athletes. I'm not Jewish. I'm not Italian. I am 2% Neanderthal, and basically all of my health outcomes came out great. I have a lot more research and a lot more digging to do. If you guys really like these videos of me going in on the different like genes and mutations, let me know. I will do a lot more research on my own, so then hopefully you can figure out your own stuff. If you want to get 23andMe, the link will be in the description. Pick it up. It's not going to be like a promo code. I won't get a kickback or anything. It will purely just be a link to go buy it yourself. And guys, that is the video. If you like this style of content, hit the like button, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment. I respond to every single one of them, and it helps out the channel. Then share to a buddy. If you really like this style of content, you can follow all these socials down below. They will be linked in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.